you ready for the event?
Space Station is ready for the event.
Houston ACR, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, good morning. This is Houston ACR. How do you hear me?
Houston ACR, we got you loud and clear.
Please stand by for opening remarks.
Welcome to Saint Ambrose in Brunswick, Ohio. I'm Father Bob Stuck, and I am blessed to be the pastor of the school and parish community. Our school mascot, if you will, is the angels. We say that our Saint Ambrose angels, they soar, and we are so blessed, thrilled beyond words, to connect with the International Space Station. Now, your first question.
Hello, my name is Ayla. My question is, how do you not float away during a spacewalk?
Not floating away during a spacewalk is something we take very seriously. So the first thing is we have tethers. And so this is a waist tether. We connect it to our spacesuit, and then I can put this on handrails that are on the outside of the space station. That'll keep me connected so that I don't float away. But that's not the only problem, because I have lots of tools out there, and every one of those can't float away either. So they all have their own tethers. So you can imagine this spaghetti mess of all of these tethers. And that's one of the biggest challenges of doing a spacewalk, is keeping everything organized.
Hello, my name is Lainey. My question is, how do you eat and drink if everything floats?
Well, actually, floating is a fun thing because you can just grab something out of the air and grab it and eat it. So, thankfully, it does go down to the right spot in your stomach, but you can actually feel the food floating in your stomach too, and this is really, really neat.
Hi, my name is Allie. I was wondering, what do you do for fun or in your free time when you're not working?
Well, we eat M&Ms, sort of like what you're seeing right now. We have a lot of fun just playing with microgravity and being able to float around ourselves. We can fly, we can twirl, we can do a lot of fun, cool stuff while we're up here in space. So, you know, you don't get bored at all. And not only that, you can look out the window, and I can see actually Ohio sometimes and see where you guys are at, and it's pretty beautiful to see our planet that way.
Hello, my name is Nathan. My question is, what happens to the trash you make in space?
Yeah, the trash in space. So we eat all this food, and there's packaging, and so we have to bag it up, and we put it in trash bags. But we really don't have a good place to put it except for a big cargo vehicle. So a cargo vehicle will bring up supplies, and then we use those supplies, and all of the waste from those supplies goes back into the cargo vehicle. And then when it leaves, all of that trash is packed inside. And as it comes back into the Earth's atmosphere, it gets really, really hot, and the vehicle burns up. And so we burn up our trash inside the vehicle that brings it up to us.
Hi, my name is Emmy. What would happen if something went wrong in space?
Wow, Amy. Well, that's something that actually some things go wrong in space often. We have procedures. We have a whole army of people on the ground that are supporting the International Space Station, and they are watching all the systems, like when we're asleep and also when we're awake. And anything goes wrong, they have procedures in place where they can take care of it. And sometimes, though, we have to intervene and take care of it as well. So preparation and training prepares you for when things go wrong.
Hi, my name is Ethan. What does space smell and sound like?
So, Ethan, a very interesting question. You know, up here while we're in the spacecraft, it sort of smells like us sometimes. It sometimes smells like an orange. That's sort of true, you know. We're living a little bit in a locker room. But then when we go out into space and do spacewalks, we're in our own spacesuit. So again, it does smell like you a little bit. But more interestingly is when you come back in from space, all of that equipment, like that tether that Nick was talking about, and your spacesuit, it actually smells a little bit like ionized metal, like burning metal. So something's going on out in the vacuum of space, and that we can smell that on our equipment that we bring back inside.
Hi, my name is Charlie. How has living on the International Space Station changed the way you think about Earth?
Charlie, that's a great question, and there are a lot of ways to answer that. I think probably the most impactful way is if I look out this window right now and I look down at Earth, as we're going over, for instance, the United States, I see the continent of North America. I don't see all of the divisions between all the states, all the borders that you see on a map of the United States. And so it changes your perspective in that you feel very connected to everyone that's down there. And that's for the entire world. As you go around, you don't see a lot of the borders that you see on maps. And it makes you feel like you're all on Earth together.
Hi, my name is Gia. What is a typical day on the International Space Station like?
Well, the first thing I do when I wake up is do a backflip because I can, and because I can't do it anywhere else but here. And after that, then we get a little something to drink. We start our day, we go over our procedures because we want to make sure we get things right, and then we get into our different tasks, which vary from everything from human physiology, maybe we have to fix something that broke, or there's science, of course, going on, and I think we got a question coming up about science here in a minute, so we'll hold on that question for now.
Hi, my name is Ben. What experiments are you working on?
So just like Butch was saying, there's all sorts of science experiments that we're working on. One of them is ourselves, right? We're trying to figure out what's happening to us. So sometimes we take our own blood samples, for example, put it in a freezer, and then we'll bring it back home and analyze it and see how we've metabolized all the food that we've eaten and how it's interacted with the exercise that we do. There's also, right behind us over here, some little robots that fly around in the space station, and we can use them to try and figure out how we might pick up space junk, for example. We also do other things in a microscope or in a glove box, and it has to do with something maybe like looking at DNA or stem cells. So there's a myriad of experiments ranging from new spacecraft coming up here, like I showed you, to looking at ourselves to figure out how you guys are going to go to the moon and on to Mars.
Hi, my name is Briella. What is the most exciting part of the space exploration?
There are so many exciting parts, but I think for me, the thing that stands out the most is the first time that I got on top of a rocket to launch to space. It's because you've prepared for so long and you've trained for so long to launch as a crew and to go onto your first space mission, and you don't know really what to expect. Everyone's told you, but you haven't experienced it yourself. And so that sense of adventure, that sense of doing something new for the first time, once the rocket lights off and it starts to rumble and vibrate and all of a sudden you're launching into space, there's nothing quite like that.
Hi, my name is Corey. What kind of foods do you eat on the International Space Station?
Wow, we eat all types of foods, but mostly I like vegetables, and occasionally we get a new spacecraft that comes up and we get fruit, and I really like to have oranges. So, what else do we get? We don't get pizza, though we did try to make a pizza once. We don't get pineapples. They don't last very well, but we do have pineapple-flavored water, which Suni's showing you right now. It's all fantastic. Our food folks really do our food up very well, very tasty, very good.
Hi, I'm Juliana. Have you made any surprising discoveries on your mission?
Well, that's an interesting question. You know, some of the experiments are a little bit long-ranging, so they take a little while. However, I think all of us have flown before, and one experiment that I worked on before was called capillary flow. It's essentially like how fluid goes up a straw, like milk goes up a straw. And we've used those experiments from years ago to now look at how we might do hydroponics in space. So we've taken that basic concept of fluid in a straw and used it into how we might grow plants up here in space, because if we do take the big trip back to the moon or on to Mars, we're going to have to probably grow our own food. So we're working on all of that for you guys.
Hi, my name is Alanya. Did the astronauts on the International Space Station see billions of stars like we see in Google Images?
Yes is the answer, but only some of the time. So we're going around the Earth once every 90 minutes, and about half that time we're in the sunlight, and the sun is so bright that it makes your eyes close up, and all you see is a black sky above the Earth. The universe is black, but as soon as that sun sets, your eyes start to open up, and you see more and more stars, and slowly over the course of 10 minutes, as you adjust to the darkness, you start to see more stars than you can ever see from the ground, because we're not looking through the atmosphere. We're just seeing deep into space. It's a beautiful sight.
Hi, my name is Alex, and I was wondering, how does being in space affect your everyday life and daily routines once you're back on Earth?
Well, Alex, that is a good question. When we get back to Earth, of course, our balance system, our neurovestibular and our inner ear, has not been excited by gravity for a long time. So there's a little bit, several days to adjust and maintain our balance. But one interesting thing that I learned when I got back last time from space is that while we're here, our body isn't as much under stress because we don't have those gravitational pull. So it doesn't replenish red blood cells. And red blood cells is what takes oxygen throughout our body. So when we come back to Earth, we are deficient, so it takes quite a few months for our body to replenish those red blood cells, which affects our stamina. So I can't go out and work in my yard for 8 hours. I'm only good for about 3 when I first get back. So that's one thing that most people don't know about, but it's true.
Hi, my name is Bobby. How can you tell the difference between seasons in space?
Well, Bobby, really up here, we're always in T-shirt and shorts. So for inside, it's a great question. We really don't have any seasons. Really, we can only tell seasons when we look out the window. But you know what? As we go around the Earth, we go over the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. So we see all of those seasons in both hemispheres, and we can watch, as we're up here for a long period of time, how the seasons change in the northern hemisphere or in the south. So we've seen all the snow that you guys have been getting, quite a bit, as a matter of fact. And we do also have a computer program that shows us where we are over the Earth. So we're pretty good at geography, but we have a program that backs us up, and so we can actually tell also which part of the planet has more sun than the other, dictating the season.
Hi, my name is Elle. Does each astronaut have a specific job on the International Space Station?
In general, there's 7 people on board, and we all train to be able to do any job that's required. You can imagine we're up here for 6 months or longer, a long duration mission. You can't predict exactly what you're going to need to do a month from now. And so we train to be able to do many different things. But there is one exception to that, and that's our station crew has a commander, and Suni is our commander. So she makes sure that we all stay in line.
Hi, my name's Kaylee. How did you decide to become an astronaut?
Well, I tell you, you don't really decide to become an astronaut, Kaylee, because, well, actually, you put yourself in a position, right? Science, technology, engineering, math, you have to have the background. But once you have that, you have to make an application. And actually, it's a lot of big room full of other people that actually make that final decision for you.
Hi, my name is Connor. One question that I have is, what are structures that you could see from International Space Station?
So you're talking, of course, about man-made structures. I think some of the most obvious things, interestingly enough, are not things that we would think on Earth. Like looking at mountains are sort of hard to see. because we're so far away and we're so much higher. But we can see the pyramids when the sun is correct, and part of the reason we could do that sometimes is because there's long shadows from them, which helps identify them. We've also could see the palm structure in United Arab Emirates. That's pretty easy because it's sort of flat on the ground. What other things have we been able to see? I think more, I was just going to say, more impressive, though, is the universe. And when we look out at the aurora around our planet, is just incredible. So that is a little bit even more obvious. But honestly, roads are in cities where people live is pretty easy to see. But picking out specific things is surprisingly more difficult than I thought it would be.
Hi, my name is Adam, and do you get the internet in space? And if so, how?
We do get the internet up here. The same communications network that's allowing us to do this question and answer session also allows us to get the internet. And so there's a series of satellites that are positioned around the Earth that are even further away than the space station is. We're only 250 miles. They're 20,000 miles away. And those satellites, we send our signal up to those satellites, and then they send it around and then down to the Earth and then over to you. So that's how we can get to the internet.
Hi, my name is Kylie. I was wondering, how did your body react to the sudden change in gravity? What did you feel like?
Well, Kylie, I can tell you, when you first get back, you feel really heavy. And everything, you notice the weight of everything. An apple, you can feel the weight. Here, I don't feel anything. Even a pencil, you can feel the weight of a pencil when you pick it up when you just return from Earth, from space to Earth.
Hi, my name is Brody. How do you communicate with Earth?
So we're talking to you right now, right? So as Nick sort of explained through the satellites, that's how we can talk to people on Earth. And actually, on a regular basis, we can talk to our families and friends. Maybe not a video conference, but we can at least use the phone and talk to them through an internet protocol on our computers. And then on the weekend, sometimes we get together with more people on like a meeting chat, and then we could see a bunch of our friends and family.
Hi, my name is Gavin. How do you wash your hair in the International Space Station?
You know, that's a very interesting question. And someone with hair should answer it. That's all.
I think it's a little easy for these two, but it's a little more difficult for this mop on my head right here. So yeah, I only wash my hair only about 2 times a week because it's a little overhead. So you squish a little water in there, like the pineapple drink bag there. Get it a little bit wet. Don't put pineapple juice in my hair. And then put a little shampoo in there. Mix it around, and then you have to take a towel, wipe it off, put some more water, wipe it off, and do that rinse and repeat thing probably about 3 or 4 times to get all the shampoo out of your hair. But it comes out looking great, right?
Hi, I'm Cameron. What happens if there's a medical incident on the International Space Station?
Well, I think we are all trained medical officers. We're not doctors, but we are trained. I'm a naval aviator, a pilot by trade, but with my 1 week of training, if Suni needs her appendix taken out, I'm her guy.
Hello, I'm Lisa Snyder, and I'm blessed to serve as the head of school's principal for Saint Ambrose Catholic School. We are so thrilled to be able to talk with you. Thank you so much. God bless you and the important work that you're doing.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today on the International Space Station. It is great to talk to you, all of you in Brunswick, Ohio, and thanks for following along, and I hope there's a couple future astronauts in the crowd out there.
Station, this is Houston ACR. Thank you. That concludes our event.
Thank you to all participants. Station, we're now resuming operational audio communications.